You're listening to the Losing It with John podcast. I am John Hoff.
And I'm Lindsey Hoff.
And today we are going to talk about, should you eat at your maintenance calorie stage to lose weight? So should you just go from eating whatever it is, 3,500 calories a day down to whatever some app says?
1,200.
1,200? That's a lot. Should you just do that drop? And if so, what's going to happen? And is there a better way? We're going to talk about that coming up. All right, so today we got a really good one. And, when we help people lose weight, Lindsey, I'm sure you've noticed that we don't necessarily count calories, right? No. Do you like counting calories?
Hate it.
Oh, I hate it too. Who wants to count calories? It's monotonous, tedious. You get it wrong. It's hard to figure out what the real numbers are and everything. And if you're doing a competition or something, all right, maybe that's kind of counting calories is important. But to do it for an extended period of time and you're not a weightlifter, like a bodybuilder or something, that can be tough. You're just the average person. You wake up in the morning, you go to work, you do your job, you eat lunch while you're there, you come home, make dinner for kids and the family or whatever. You want to watch a show at night. We're not wanting to weigh our food.
No.
Count every calorie. Where's my calculator? That's hard. The good news is it is possible to lose weight without counting calories. I know people who have done it.
Yes.
Yes, I did it. You've done it.
Yes.
A lot of people have done it. Our clients have done it. Okay. So, today we are going to talk about, should you just go into MyFitnessPal or Carb Manager, one of these apps, and type in there what your height is, your weight, your gender, how old you are, and then have it spit out a magical number. What you tell it what your goal weight is and how much you weigh now, and it'll spit out a magical number of, maybe you should be eating this many calories per day. So should you just jump right to that? Now, I went to an online calendar, a calculator, and you can just go to Google or DuckDuckGo, one of those, and you just type in calorie deficit calculator, and you'll be able to find one. It'll ask you those kind of questions. And I put in there for a female, 45 years old, about 230 pounds right now. Their goal weight is 145. So what it said was your goal calorie intake for the day would be about ballpark 1,700 calories per day. And that can take you 4 to 5 years to reach that goal weight of 145 pounds. Now, I know, a lot of you are listening. You might be thinking 4 to 5 years, or 3 to 4 years. I'll get it right. 3 to 4 years. That seems like a lot. I mean, if you really think about it, though, over the grand scheme of things, is it really a lot compared to how long we've been gaining weight, right?
And it's 100 pounds almost. So, It's going to take a little while to get that weight off in a healthy way.
Right. Look what those people had to do on that show, The Biggest Loser. Remember that? In order to lose that crazy amount of weight that they did, look at what they had to do. So,
and most of them didn't stick.
No,
they didn't. After the show ended, they gained their way back.
You can actually go on and search that online, and you can look at the biggest losers messed up their metabolism. And that's a thing. When you crash diet and work that hard, a lot of these people, they've wrecked their metabolism that hasn't recovered properly because it's just, it's forced. It's a show, it's a game show. It wasn't really about what's the best way to lose weight.
Yeah, right? Losing and maintaining.
It was about entertaining people.
Yeah.
And
it did. We watched it.
Oh yeah, we watched
entertaining.
every time we watched it. Yep, and we like when the coaches would get mad at each other or fight or something like that. Yep. But anyways, so those people they would lose that enormous amount of weight in that short period of time. So ask yourself, if you have that much weight that you want to lose, are you willing to do that? Probably not. And you have
Not for me.
and think about it, you have to stick with it, because once you get down to that weight, and this is the whole problem with going on diets to begin with. Once you get to that weight, what do you do then?
Right. And they don't teach that on the TV shows.
They don't even teach that in most diets.
No.
You go on a keto diet to lose weight, for example, which is, I got nothing wrong with the keto diet if you like eating keto, but if you're using it just to lose weight, you better be going into it with a plan if you don't want to stick with keto forever.
Right.
Because then you're going to have to ask yourself, what am I going to do when I hit my goal weight?
Because if you just go back to the old way, you're just going to gain the weight back because your body's like, oh, woohoo, I have extra calories now. Let's party.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So anyways, when it comes to just dropping your calories down, so let me just ask you as the person who's listening, okay, the lovely you that are listening in your car or wherever, do you think that if you are currently eating, and you might not know how many calories you're eating, and that's fine, but whatever you're eating right now, do you think that you could just chop it in half and eat that just half of the calories that you're eating right now, half the food that you're eating right now, and do you think you could maintain that at all times? No,
not realistic.
Realistically, I mean, right. No. You go out to dinner, friends come over, you go to a party, hey, we ordered pizza, and okay, realistically, can this person just eat half of all the things? I'm sure there are some people that can do it, but
Absolutely.
Most people who are struggling with overeating, which that's what most of our clients have been struggling with, it's not as easy as just turn it off.
No.
Because there's a lot of reasons why we eat that go beyond you're just hungry. In fact, more times than not, you eat when you're not hungry.
Right. Which is the problem.
Yeah. So some people, it's an emotional problem, right? That something needs to be fixed emotionally in their life. And food is a way of just kind of not thinking about it, getting your mind off of it and doing something else.
Yeah.
Other times it's just mindlessly eating, not even thinking.
You're bored.
And before you know,
grab food.
Yeah,
our kids do that all the time.
And before you know it, you look down and that bag of chips is empty.
Yeah.
You know what? I should come up with a food, a brand name. The brand name's going to be I'm bored.
The food you eat when you're bored.
Yeah, these are the bored chips. These are the bored snacks. These are the ones. Yeah. I should do that. And they're all like, low calorie. So you can eat a lot. Okay. So maintenance. Yes. It would be really hard when you go to a calculator like this one, and it's telling you to eat 1,700 calories per day, down to even it says 1,500 calories, depending on how much weight you want to lose.
How quickly?
Quickly you want to lose. Thank you. Is going to be really hard to stick to. Okay, so that's just one thing, is how hard it's to stick to. There's a lot of problems with this here. And by the way, if you're not sure how many calories you are burning right now, all right, it's like, okay, well, I'd like to know, I need to get into a calorie deficit. How do I know when John says, okay, you should be a 200 calorie deficit per day or something, right? If I were to tell you that, or if some fitness person told you 500 calories a day or something, right? Okay, well, 500 or 200 from what?
Exactly. Got to figure it out.
You have to figure it out.
So you do have to count a little calories to go this method.
To go that method.
To go this method.
Yeah. Again, we don't count calories. I'm going to tell you toward the end of the podcast here, kind of what we do so that you don't have to necessarily count calories, but you can still reap the benefits of a calorie reduction.
Calorie deficit, yeah.
But if you wanted to figure out what your current calories are, you could try using an app, and the app is going to do a lot of guesswork, right? What would be a better way of doing it?
Packaging, looking at packaging and calorie intake on the package
of what you're doing,
of what you're actually eating.
Yeah, you got to look at what you're doing.
You having a chicken breast? Okay, how much is in a small chicken breast?
Every single thing that goes in your mouth, from coffee to a latte.
Right.
Just another coffee. Notice I like coffee. What else do I drink? I don't know. Coffee, water, right? Right? A soda, to how many nuts are you consuming, to the bread. What you make yourself a sandwich. Well, okay, how many calories in the bread? How many calories in the tomatoes? How many calories in the lettuce and the meat and the mayo and the mustard?
Right.
Every single calorie. And you got to do that for like 2 weeks. And now you have to, are you gaining weight? Are you staying about the same amount of weight? Are you losing weight? You do this for 2 weeks, and whatever you're at right now, let's just say your weight is kind of plateaued. You're at the same weight. You're at that, what did we say, 230 pounds? Well, then if your weight stayed the same and you went 2 weeks and counted every single calorie as best as you could, then you know kind of where your maintenance weight is currently.
Current maintenance, yeah.
And it is?
Maintenance being where you're at if you're not gaining or losing. Mm-hmm. That's your maintenance weight.
And it's really hard to calculate that even still, because food manufacturers on their packaging, they're allowed like a 20% variance. So it might say 100 calories, but it could be 120 or it could be 80 calories. And while the 100 calorie thing doesn't, it's not as big, but imagine if it was a 400 calorie thing and you ate that breakfast, lunch, dinner, and you're off by as much as, you could be off by several hundred calories. You're thinking to yourself, you want to do a 200 calorie deficit per day, but you could be miscalculating based off of just the company is not giving you the exact number. That's why this whole calorie counting thing, like, you have to be a real scientist at it if you want to get it right.
No thanks.
It's super hard. And the sad thing is, to lose weight, it really does come down to being in a calorie deficit. I don't care if you're doing low carb, and we know all about low carb. We've said it before. That's kind of the intro when we got into what finally got us to lose the weight and everything. Low carb was the route that we went. Looking back at it as a coach now, knowing what I know now, I can realize it wasn't necessarily the less carbs. It was that I was eating less calorie dense foods.
Right.
And those low carbs were less calorie. They were calorie sparse versus calorie dense. Calorie dense would be lots of bread, pasta, that kind of stuff.
He's Italian.
I'm Italian. So yeah, it's going to be difficult to figure out your calorie intake. Now, I have, to kind of showcase being able to stick with it, I did in Carb Manager. So there's a app that you can use called Carb Manager if you're doing a low carb diet. And just for fun, I plugged in what my old John on the standard American diet would have eaten for a day. And I've talked about it before, and I was trying to recall the numbers. I actually pulled up the numbers right here on my screen. And if I can figure out a way to get a link, I'm sure I can get a link to and put it in the show notes for you. So you might be able to check in the show notes a link that you can look at the screenshot that I have here that I'm looking at right now. But here's what I ate old John would eat during the day. Okay, so I would have for breakfast, this is a sample day, I'd have the instant Quaker Oats oatmeal, and I would do 2 pouches, and I would put a little maple syrup in there because you got to have it even more sweet than the brown sugar that's already in it.
Right.
And then I would have some coffee with like some half and half, And I would put in like 3 teaspoons, sometimes 4 teaspoons of sugar. Yeah, it was sugar with coffee, with a little dash of coffee.
Right.
That would be breakfast. For lunch, I would have I would go to fast food. So I inputted in a Jack in the Box cheeseburger, Pepsi, and some curly fries. For dinner, I'd eat spaghetti, have a couple beers, and a slice of bread with butter. And then during the day, I put on there that I had a couple snacks. I had like a bag of Doritos, like the little small bag, and a Pepsi. And then I put on there like a chocolate bar, like a Snickers bar. But, that could change from anything that I might snack on. But that's an example day. I consumed on that day 3,622 calories. Okay, so about 3,600 calories for that day. Now, that app that we had just talked about was saying that somebody, now not me because I'm a man, different than the app there, but, dropping calories to 1,700 per day. Could you imagine me going from 3,600 calories down to that? And so then on the next screen, I showcased on that particular day, because at that time I was doing low carb, which, I don't eat low carb anymore as far as like keto low carb kind of thing. I just eat normal carb, right? I don't overconsume.
Normal for us. We're low for the average American, but we're not low in the low carb community.
Yeah. I mean, we probably eat somewhere around 100 grams of carbs a day, somewhere in there. If I had to ballpark it, that's just, yeah. Anyways, back then though, I put on there what my breakfast was. I had some eggs, like 3 eggs over easy, an avocado and some coffee. During lunch, it looks like I had one of my
smoothie.
Was it a smoothie? It's either a smoothie. Yeah, it's probably a smoothie. I had a smoothie. And then for dinner, I had chicken breast dinner with some vegetables and some bone broth soup. Oh, that was the broth, chicken soup.
Chicken soup.
That's what we made, chicken soup. I'm looking at the thing. I don't know. I'm reading all the ingredients. I'm like, oh, okay, I got to put all those ingredients together. What did I make? I made chicken soup.
Right.
And then for snack, I had some nuts and I had some dark chocolate squares for dessert that night. Now, that was actually a really low calorie day for me. It was 1,200. It was a little over 1,200, about 1,250 calories. That's pretty low for a guy my size. I'm 6'1", 6'2".
Pretty low for most anybody.
Yeah.
That's on the low side for almost anybody.
Yeah, totally. I don't think you should be in the 1,200s personally. But in that case, I was. But now, can you just imagine someone going from 3,600 down to 1,200?
Right.
Forget about it. Okay. So when you are dropping calories, okay, something's going to happen that most people end up getting to especially when they're trying to do it on their own. It's when your weight stalls out. It's
all of our favorite things.
It's the dreaded weight stall. You can name it whatever you want.
Yeah.
The plateau, the stall. It's not working anymore. Why am I not doing? I didn't change anything.
Right.
I'm eating all the same stuff. I'm doing all the same things. I'm exercising the same. I'm walking the same. But it stopped working. Why? Well, there can be a number of reasons. We're talking one of them was like water, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you are losing fat, but you could have water. You just retaining more water, drinking more water. You up your water intake. Because let me tell you, if you're a client of ours, we're going to tell you to drink water.
Lots and lots of water.
Yes. It's a very good weight loss tool. All right. But there is something called metabolic adaptation. Exactly. Metabolic adaptation. So this is when your body wants to just normalize everything. Always. Right? So if you if you move to where it snows all the time, your body's going to try to adjust to colder weather. If you move to a desert, your body adjusts a little bit. Your skin starts to tan, it adjusts a little bit. when it comes to food, if you lower the amount of food that you're consuming, if I was consuming that 3,600 calories a day, and now all of a sudden I'm consuming 2,000 calories per day, well, let me ask you, Lindsay, do you think that my body's going to keep burning the 3,000?
No.
No. I mean, it makes sense that at some point the body's going to say, okay, I'll burn some tissue right now, right? We'll burn a little bit of fat because we're supposed to be at 3,000 calories per day,
right,
let's say. But now I only see 2,000 that he's eating today. So, well.
Maybe he'll make it up tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe we'll make it up tomorrow. So let's just pull some fat and let's burn up the fat and you know, let's lose some weight. But if you keep doing that, at some point, the body's going to say, hey, they're being a stickler on this. So I'm going to lower your metabolic rate, and your new maintenance stage calorie burn is 2,000 calories a day.
Right.
And what do we hit?
Plateau.
A plateau.
Not losing anything.
Not losing anything. We've adapted. And, you know, I mean, that's just, it's a good thing. Your body doesn't know that you're trying to lose weight. Right. It's a good thing in that if you were ever in a survival thing, you want your body to adapt to that. If all of a sudden, like, there's no food available.
Right.
You want your body to be able to say, okay, I'm going to get way more efficient at using the calories that you're giving me now.
Right.
Now, the scary part, you start getting into the danger zone when, not when you're in Top Gun, you know, flying with the danger zone. That was a good movie though.
Yeah.
But you start getting into the danger zone when your calories start getting so low. Oh boy, Han Solo. I'm just going all over the place. When you go so low that all of a sudden your body's like
starvation mode.
Yeah. Like, hey,
they're
look,
not giving me anything. I need to keep everything that I have.
I have a heart to beat here.
Yeah.
You know, we got to walk.
I got to be able to see. I've got to be able to hear.
Yeah.
I've got functions that I need to make happen.
And it's going to start chopping things off, not literally, but like hair growth, for example. If you start going too low, some people are like, my hair, I'm losing hair or whatever. Yeah, because in that case, yeah, you're not eating enough. You're not eating enough food. And, you know, some people can go too far with that. But it's it's metabolic adaptation. And that's the biggest reason why I see a lot of people's weight stall out, and they get frustrated. It was working before, now it's stalled, and then they give up, and then they gain all their weight back.
Right.
Right. And we don't want that to happen. Now, if you were trying to count calories, okay, first of all, if you look it up, if you talk to like some fitness people, a lot of people, they usually say 200 to 500 calorie deficit per day. So if you're at 3,000 is what you're currently eating, drop it down to like, you know, 2,800, maybe 2,500. I like closer to the 2,800. I like more around a 200 calorie deficit a day, maybe 300, if you're actually counting. Like that, it's my, even though I don't count calories in my head, this is how it would kind of work when we're doing the things that we do for our clients.
Right.
You don't want to push it too hard, right? You don't want to put it into the red where your body freaks out. We just want the body to just be okay. We don't want it to be stressed and lock up.
Right.
And if we just do a little deficit, it's not too hard on the body, and it's also not too hard on you mentally.
Right.
Because it's just little, to get to a 200 calorie deficit per day, it's just a few small things that maybe you're improving on.
Right. Maybe you take out a soda.
Maybe you don't put mayonnaise on your sandwich. You use mustard instead. You know.
Maybe you don't get that Starbucks today.
Maybe instead of a regular, yeah, you know. Maybe instead of the soda, you drink iced tea or something.
Exactly.
I mean, we could go on and on with that. Instead of 3 slices of pizza, you eat 2.5. Instead of eating, I can keep going. A breakfast sandwich, you make it a avocado toast, right? You just do one slice of bread instead of making it a sandwich.
Right.
So there's a lot of little things that you can do like that. Now that is a little bit more manageable. And that kind of gets into what we do in our program. Our program's called Back to Basics. It's like, hey, look, let's just get back to the basics of weight loss. The basics of weight loss is how much freaking food are you eating right now, right? If you're overeating, then we want to know, okay, well, let's fix, I don't want to say fix, let's work on, reducing the amount of food that you're eating. That's going to be the biggest bang for the buck. And let's not do it too hard to where you give up.
Right.
We're playing the long game here. No more of this like, hey, I want to lose 100 pounds in 2 weeks and then give up and gain it all back. No.
And it seems hard at first, but once your body adapts to it, you don't want that extra stuff. I don't eat nearly as much as I used to, say, 5 years ago before we started eating this way, because my body adapted to only having a certain amount of food. So now it's like, oh, well, I'm not really hungry. I don't need to eat that. I can go without it. And I'm fine. Where before it's like, you want me to give up what? No, that's an awful lot for me. I can't give up all that stuff. So, as you adapt, it becomes easy.
That's the perfect word you use there, is adapt. This is the whole adaptation. Our bodies do this. When a lot of people who switch to keto, switch to low carb, they stop eating so much sugar and they don't have as much sweets. Now, if you're in the keto world, there's such terms as dirty keto and clean keto, right? For the very short end of it, if you don't know the difference between them, the very short end of it is that dirty keto is where you can eat processed foods. It doesn't have to be whole foods. So you can still have like keto ice cream, keto cookies, keto bread, keto crackers, where the clean keto, the original keto, is
whole foods.
Whole foods.
Yeah.
Right? So, but when you are switching to keto, especially the clean keto people, they tend to eat more dark chocolate if they're going to have any kind of chocolate. And what happens is those sugar cravings, they kind of start to go away.
Yeah.
And that's because their body is adapting to just not having sugar. It can be very hard for people, though, just to go, you rip a Band-Aid off.
Right. Cold turkey.
Yeah. Yeah. That it can be hard. And it made me really think about what made me really think about this, honestly. And this is one of the pivotal moments, by the way, that made me kind of sit back and think about what I was doing when I was teaching low carb. Because I would teach, look, if somebody wants to lose weight doing low carb, there has to be a coach there, right? And it's something that I know a lot about. And I would coach people through that. But there was one particular client, and I just remember that she had some things going on. She had some surgery. And then she said, I checked in with her and said, well, I kind of fell off. I'm like, fell off? You shouldn't fall off of anything. It should be just kind of what you're doing. And that's when I had to really sit back and really let it set in that, going on a diet is not for everybody. And honestly, there could be a better strategy for somebody who's not wanting to just do low carb, but they're looking at low carb because that's what you see.
Right. That's prominent right now.
Right. And when I really looked at what is the root cause of this, because look, I am very much a proponent of eating healthy, of healthy foods. Trust me, I want to tell everybody to just start eating whole foods. I really do. But I need to meet you, if I'm to be the best coach that I can be and to give you what you need, I need to meet you where you are. And that's not usually 5 miles down the road. Okay? It's right in front of me where you are right now. And let's just see about getting ourselves like 3 yards forward. Right. Let's take that first step. And then maybe we can work on getting to the quarter mile. And then, and some people, they don't they don't really care about food quality. Some people are just like, look, I just want to lose weight and look good and feel good in my body. I want to be able to go to the store and buy what clothes I want to buy, you know?
And of course, eating all whole foods will get you to that place as well. But if you're not comfortable with taking out everything that's processed, I mean, look, you come look in our pantry, there is processed foods in there. We have 4 kids. We reduce it, but it's not gone from the diet entirely because our kids still want some of that stuff that they used to have before we changed our lifestyle.
Right. And, you know, it is a lot more reduced.
It is.
We don't do
our
fast
kids
food.
don't eat as much sugar. They don't want as much sugar because we took a lot of things out of their diet. So their bodies have adapted.
And we did it for most of them. We have 4 kids early.
Yes.
You know, just don't give them the soda. And then,
none of our kids like soda.
yeah. Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, trust me, I want to tell everyone a perfect diet for them to do, but I have to be realistic about, you know, being able to stick with something long term and getting us there. Let's play the long game. So, okay, because we're talking calories, let me tell you, you know, if you're wanting to lose weight, here's a common question that people will ask me. Well, John, how much weight should I expect to lose every week? And honestly, half a pound to 2 pounds max is what I would like to see. I don't want to see.
And at the beginning, you might lose a lot more because of water weight, but that's not typically going to maintain itself. You might lose 2 pounds the first week, 3 pounds the first week, but then you're going to go down to a half a pound, and that's perfectly normal.
Right. And it's perfectly normal. Even like, you know, 1 week you don't lose any.
Exactly.
Maybe 1 week you go up 1 pound, but then as long as over time we are trending down, right? But yeah, about a half a pound to maybe a pound a week is nice because you're not stressing the body out so much. And that is very important. Now, if I were to give somebody a, you know, kind of the perfect scenario of it all, it would be like on a spreadsheet. It would be over the course of a week, 7 days, right? One day, maybe you're at a small calorie deficit, 200 one day. And then what maybe the next day would we do, you know?
Plus 100.
Okay, plus 100. So then we do like a plus 100 calorie deficit. And then maybe the next day we had 300 calorie deficit. And then the next day a 100 calorie deficit. And then the next day again, another plus 100 or 200, right? So we're kind of like cycling, you know, in and out of this. And this is then telling the body like, hey, everything kind of seems normal. Yeah, it seems like I'm getting a little bit less, but everything's kind of seeming normal. And at the same time, you who are, you know, having a rough day at work or whatever triggers you to go eat something, we are not just taking all of that away from you immediately. That you can't, like we mentioned on the last podcast. So what happens when you're angry and you take away the food that you use to cope with the anger? What are we left with? Anger, right? I mean, we don't want to be just left with the anger thing. So that's a perfect kind of world for if you were trying to do a calorie deficit. We want to see it kind of cycle a little bit, but over the course of like 7 days, your calorie deficit would pan out as if you had about a 200 calorie deficit per day.
Right.
That would be kind of.
And that means not eating identical meals every single day. If every single day you wake up and you have 2 eggs and 1 piece of toast for breakfast, and you have a sandwich with ham and turkey for lunch, and then you have chicken breast and a vegetable for dinner, and that's the only thing that you eat every single day, without fail, your body's going to go, oh, well, this is exactly what I'm getting, and it's going to stop sooner than you think, because your body's like, hey, I'm happy. This is exactly the same thing every day. I know what to do. Where if you're cycling,
variance.
There's variance in it, then people are going to lose the weight because your body's like, I'm not sure what to do with this because it's less than yesterday or it's a little bit more than yesterday. So it's going to allow you to keep losing.
Yeah. So, okay. Now the question then, of course, the $1 million question is, how do we lose weight without counting calories if it's about calories? That's the magic question. Now, in our program, Back to Basics, we have basically a framework that we work that if you use the framework, okay, a framework is basically like steps to follow. If you follow these few steps here, then you should get the result that you are aiming for.
Right.
And the top level of the framework, and then it can be broken down in ways, and how we accomplish this stuff is what we teach in the program.
Right.
But on the top level, the framework is basically, I broke it down into kind of 4 W's for people to remember. But the 4 W's would be basically, you have to write down what to eat. Okay. So there was a study back in 2008 where researchers looked at people, and they realized after the study was concluded that people who actually wrote down what they ate lost double the amount of weight as the people who did not keep records or write anything down.
They hold themselves accountable.
Yeah.
They don't want to write down that they had that piece of chocolate cake at the end of the day. So then they don't eat it because they don't want, like, this one over here is my write down. If I don't feel like I should be telling him that I'm eating something, I probably shouldn't be eating that thing. If I don't want to be like, hey, John, I just went over and I had a Trenta Frappuccino. A lot of sugar.
Yeah.
Then I shouldn't be getting that Trenta Frappuccino.
Yeah.
So
I'm
he's
your
my
accountability
partner. Not everybody has an accountability partner, so writing it down is the best way to keep yourself accountable.
Yeah. Yeah. So, writing it down is very important. That's one of the first things that we talk about in the program. And we have a way of actually going even beyond just simply writing down what you do. There's some things that we do on that. The next one is what you can eat. Okay. So like, what are you allowed to eat? Are you allowed to eat anything that you want to eat? Do you need to skip some kind of sugars or something? Like, you need to determine that and then follow through with that. And,
Right.
A little hint there, it needs to be something that you can stick to. You know what I mean?
Right.
Number 3 in the framework would be when to eat. Now, I'm not talking about like intermittent fasting where you have time windows to eat.
Right.
I'm talking about you eat when you're freaking hungry. Okay? You eat when you're hungry. You don't eat out of boredom. You don't eat mindlessly. You don't eat to cope with something emotional. In the beginning, first of all, out of all of this, what I tell everybody who comes into my course, our course, I'm sorry, is that you're not going to be perfect at this.
No.
I do not expect anyone to be perfect at it. I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect.
No.
So when I say you only eat when you're hungry, you're probably not going to hit that every single time.
Right.
But guess what? You don't have to be perfect and you can still lose weight.
Right.
How about that? Because honestly, like if you're like me sometimes and you're trying to do something and especially try to accomplish it in the day and you don't accomplish it and you just think to yourself,
I'm a failure. I didn't do it.
how dare you say that about me? No, seriously, right? I even question, like, am I a good dad? Am I a good husband? And I didn't accomplish this stuff and I took all my time away from my family to do these things. I'm not accomplishing it, right? And it's the same way a lot of times with food, that we get into this thing of like, when people, tangent alert here for a second. when people start thinking about food as like good and bad food, okay, I think of foods as more, I try to remove the emotion from it so that we are not emotional about it when we mess up or when we don't mess up. So the non-emotional way is what we've been talking about here, calories. Hey, that food is calorie dense. That one is less calorie dense. There's no emotion in that.
This one will feed my body and this one will not.
Yeah. I mean, there's no emotion in that. But when, and I talk, that's another thing I talk about. I have a specific video where we talk about this in the course. But what a lot of people will do and a lot of diets will do is they label food as good and bad.
Right.
And the problem there that I find is that a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people, and maybe this is you if you're listening, when you eat something that you have labeled as bad food, right. So a donut, and then you eat a donut, what are you kind of subconsciously telling yourself?
When you failed for the day?
Yeah, that you're bad.
You're bad.
Right? That you failed. That you just can't do it. You're not good enough. This is bad. Now, if you look at that food as, oh, that's a calorie dense food, and then you ate it, you might not be imprinting I am bad as much because you're not looking at the food as bad, right, or good. Now, there's really, if you want to, the real thing of it is there's healthy food and unhealthy food. That's what there is. All food gives you energy. The donut gives you energy. You know what I mean? As long as it's edible and you're not allergic to it, right. That food will give you energy. So let's stop labeling food as good and bad, and let's start just thinking about it more as, hey, energy. That food's going to give me energy. Now, do I want that food there? That's going to be a lot of, obviously calories and stuff, or am I not? And if you do, then you need to be okay with eating it.
And you need to adapt other things. If I want to have a piece of cheesecake when we go out to dinner, I'm going to get that piece of cheesecake, but I'm going to try to do good on the other things that I'm eating so that I can enjoy that additional calorie intake for dessert.
Mm-hmm. And by doing that and giving yourself, some parameters to work within where you're not like starving yourself during the day. We're not talking about that.
No.
We just mean don't have a donut in the breakfast and then have the dessert at night.
Exactly.
And yeah.
I try to eat healthy foods. Right now I'm trying to not do dairy because of my system. So if I end up getting that piece of cheesecake, I try to make sure I have no dairy for the rest of the day. So same goes for calories. If I'm going to have something that has a lot of calories in it, then I'm going to try to be good the rest of the day so that I still feel like it's a win. Mm-hmm. And I'm giving myself that thing that I wanted, so I'm not feeling like it was taken away and I can't have it ever.
Let me be clear on something. You said something there that I like, which is a win for the day. Now that win, by the way, can be different based on let's define what a win is. Is a win, let's say you want to have that cheesecake, and I'm not speaking about the dairy issue, just right. Cheesecake, right? Okay, you want to have cheesecake at night. Now, before, you would have had maybe a whole donut earlier in the day. Let's just say, maybe we're not talking about for right now. You are not allowed to have the donut because you're going to have a cheesecake. It's not a black and white thing. You know what? If you were eating the whole donut before, maybe you just eat half. That's a win.
Right.
Yesterday, you would have eaten the whole freaking donut and had the cheesecake. Today, you ate half a donut and a cheesecake. Maybe you only ate 3/4 of the cheesecake and you're like, okay, I'll wrap it up. I'll eat the rest tomorrow.
Right.
So it's something that you can kind of play around with a little bit there.
And what you're comfortable with. Some people are like, I'm never giving up soda. It's not going to happen. I don't want to do it. For me, that was the first thing that I gave up. I'm like, I don't need soda. I like it. I want to have it sometimes. Mm-hmm. But it was something that wasn't that difficult to give up for me. In my teenage years, that would have been a different story. But as an adult, I was able to give up soda easily. Some people can't, so don't give up the soda. Maybe change what type of soda you're drinking mm-hmm. or drink less of it. I know some people go out there and get like the big gulps that get like 4 a day. Okay, maybe you don't need to go to that extent, but mm-hmm. you can reduce a little bit and it makes a big difference.
Yeah, switch into diet or Coke Zero, little steps getting you there. Absolutely. Okay, so let's bring us back from our tangent here for a moment. So So we said, the framework that we use in our program, Back to Basics, the first one is, keeping records, writing it down. Next one is what you can eat. The next one is when to eat, like when you're hungry and stuff. And then the last one, obviously, if it's when to start eating, what do we know? What do we need to know then at the end?
When to stop.
When to stop eating. Exactly. So
you don't have to clear the plate.
You don't have to clear the plate.
If you do have that mentality you're raised with, I need to finish all the food, then give yourself a smaller plate.
Right. And okay, so if that is somebody's hang up, okay, on I have to finish all the food on my plate because there's
That's how I was raised,
there's starving kids in Africa.
I need to finish that.
Let me ask you, how would you be helping starving children in Africa or America or wherever? I don't remember if we talked about this on the last episode. We may have, but how would you be helping anybody by forcing yourself to overeat so that you finish all the food on your plate? Is it?
A lot of people, it's not the helping other people. It's their parents raised them to have a clean dish.
Yeah.
And that's the mentality that you carry forward as an adult. And because you were just raised that way and it's part of who you are, you need to clear that plate. So if you're one of those people, don't get the big dinner plates, get the small dessert plates. Mm-hmm. Do the smaller dish. And that way you can't fit as much on it. You're not going to eat as much.
I think that's a great tip.
But you can still clear the plate like you have the mentality to do.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. And if you do leave some bites on the plate, it's okay. Yeah, it's okay. It will be okay, I promise. And I always tell people, don't save the best bite for last.
Right.
And I get that from I got that from our son Joshua, because he has this way of like eating. He eats his hamburger in a certain way, his sandwiches. Even today when he was eating his sandwich, did you notice he ate all around? So the middle part is that last bite.
So he can get a bite with everything on it as his last satisfying bite.
Yeah. His last bite is always that perfect bite. And imagine though, if he ate the sandwich in a way where you could eat the middle part first and you eat from inward to outward, he probably would leave the crust and thereby not eating all of the food and thereby eating less food.
Right.
But instead he saves it for last.
And eating slower too will help you want less.
Yeah.
If you blast through all of your food really fast, your stomach's not going to know that it's full and you're going to eat all of it and then you're going to feel sick. But if you eat slowly and chew each bite, say 20 times, you chew each bite, you're going to eat slower and you're going to feel more satisfied during the eating process as opposed to afterwards going, oh my goodness, what did I just do? Yeah.
And if you are overeating, by the way, if you have been struggling with that overeating, whatever the case might be, we have some specific things that we teach in our program Back to Basics on how to kind of combat that, how to reduce that. And you gave a couple tips right there, which were great, but we get into a lot more detail on it. And if you would like to learn more about that, then, there's a couple ways that you can work a little closer with us. The first one is we accept new students. And we open doors every now and then, but if you go to losingitwithjohn.com/waitlist, I'll put the link in the show notes, then you can put yourself on our wait list for when we open doors, and that will give you the first opportunity to join the program when we bring in new people, because we usually only accept so many people because we want to make sure that we can focus really good on giving these people the highest quality training that we can give them.
Right.
And it's a little bit harder when you've got 2,000 people that you're trying to teach all at once, So we like to keep it small, but that's a good thing for you.
Right.
That's a good thing for you. You get more of us. And if you go to that page and, if our doors are currently open, by the way, that page will show you, hey, we're currently open. You don't need to get on the wait list.
All right.
But get on that wait list. And if you would like to do instead like a one-on-one kind of coaching and stuff, then that option is available. You can just hit me up on like Instagram. Just go to john.hoff35 on Instagram, hit me up in the DMs, and you can say, hey, I'm kind of interested in maybe working with you guys a little bit and see if we can get this sorted out. Our main thing is, look, when somebody has been trying to lose weight by going on a diet, and that diet has been focusing on the what they eat, and it's not been working, that's when you come to us, because we're not showing you what to eat. We're showing you how to eat the food that you are already eating, and we're meeting you where you are right now, rather than tell you, change your entire life, turn it upside down. You're no longer allowed to eat those things anymore. Throw all that crap in your pantry away. Here's your new shopping list. Here's the clean foods you need to eat. I need you to walk 10,000 steps a day, blah, 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 blah. You know what? Maybe you have a freaking job and you go out to lunch with people. Maybe it's clients, maybe it's coworkers, maybe it's your boss or whatever it is. And you don't want to be the one that's sitting there saying, ooh, well, it's not my eating window time right now, so I'm just going to drink water. No, let's teach you how to eat a proper amount of food even when you go out to dinner. Let's just learn how to eat normally.
Right.
And if that is the point where you're looking at, you need someone to help you through, whether it be emotional eating and mindless eating or something, then you know what? Hit me up on Instagram. Go to losingitwithjohn.com/waitlist and get on our wait list. And, we'll send you all the details and everything from there. And yeah, so unless there's anything else you want to add, I think we about covered it.
I think we're good.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a good rest of your day or night. I'll see you next time.
Bye.